If you were to ask me what my favourite game of 2015 was, one game would come to mind instantly: Rainbow Six Siege. For those of you that don't know, Rainbow Six Siege is a tactical first-person shooter, and the latest addition in the long line of Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six games. Siege, unlike previous titles, has a much heavier focus on multiplayer and team play. These online, objective-based missions will require you to work together with your teammates as one of 20 in-game classes, more commonly known as operators, who each have their own unique options when it comes to weapons and gadgets. Whether you choose to hunt terrorists in the terrorist hunt mode, or perhaps take the fight to other players in multiplayer, you'll quickly discover that each operator has their own individual strengths and weaknesses, as well as supported many different playstyles. Hello there guys, long time no see. My name is Turkey, and today I'm here to talk about my top 6 operators in Rainbow Six Siege. Before I begin, I would like to clarify that this list is taken from the perspective of someone that mostly plays Terrorist Hunt. Just that one mode. This means that while a particular operator might be excellent in multiplayer, it certainly doesn't guarantee them a place on this list. With that being said, I think it's about time we get started. Starting off strong on our list, we have good old Sledge. Sledge is an SAS attacker and, as far as I'm aware, one of Sean's favourite operators as well. As you can probably guess, Sledge's nickname comes from his unique tool of choice, the sledgehammer. The sledgehammer works as a breaching device that can be used to easily get through certain walls or doors. The advantage of using this is that the sledgehammer can be used multiple times before running out, unlike the breaching charge available to most operators, which has very limited uses by comparison. Having Sledge on your team allows other operators to take different tactical equipment, such as stun grenades, smoke grenades, since Sledge himself can handle any breaching that needs to be done. In terms of primary weapons, he does also have a choice between a shotgun or a rifle, allowing for a loadout that can be effective at different ranges. We here at Lagmasters strongly believe that Sledge is the best choice for anyone new to Rainbow Six Siege, and would highly recommend him as your first attacker to unlock if you're just getting started. At number 5 we have Blitz. Now Blitz is unique in the sense that he's one of 3 attackers who has heavy armour and gets the option of a shield as his primary weapon. In fact, it's actually the only primary weapon he can use. While this may seem like a bit of a hindrance, it does make sense when you realise that his unique gadget revolves around this shield. The flash shield works in the same way a stun grenade would work. When used, it will temporarily blind all nearby enemies, giving you or your teammates the opportunity to get some easy kills. It also comes with up to 5 uses per round, which is effectively 5 free stun grenades. Not bad if I do say so myself. What this does mean is that you're not only a walking meat shield, but also a walking flash grenade on top of that. Because of this, Blitz does make an excellent point man when playing to his strengths, and provides excellent support to his teammates when using his ability to blind all the enemy units. Sadly, his loadout options are ridiculously limited, with him being the only character, as far as I'm aware, to only have 1 primary and 1 secondary option. Perhaps this wouldn't be as much of an issue, except that his pistol happens to be his one and only firearm. This is all you're going to get in a firefight. So in a serious battle against the terrorists, you're going to be easily outgunned, meaning you'll have to rely more on your teammates when dealing with large waves of enemies. Regardless, I still enjoy the overall theme he has going on. He looks great, he has a clear role in the place of his team, and if you're someone who likes to take lead or someone who enjoys flashing people, no, not in that way, then perhaps Blitz is the operator for you. At number 4 we have Fuse. Fuse is a Spetsnaz operator who, like Blitz, is an attacker, uses heavy armour, and can take a shield as a primary weapon. This is where the similarities between the 2 operators dry up, however, since Fuse isn't actually limited to the shield as his only primary weapon. Those who have tried this operator will quickly notice that his loadout options are actually very generous, at least when compared to the other heavy attackers who by comparison, are much more limited in what they can take. However, what really makes this attacker shine in his role is the use of his unique gadget, the cluster charge, which is designed to attach to a surface and fire 5 small grenades into the other side. When used in the right spot, you are easily capable of clearing entire rooms and objectives before the defenders can even react. This guy doesn't even need to be in the same room as the enemy to kill him, and that's what makes his ability so deadly. It's a reliable, easy way to get kills if you have a general idea on where the enemy team is situated, and works just as well on any game mode, whether it's terrorist hunt or multiplayer. As far as attackers go, Few seems to have it all, and there's really nothing bad you can say about him, other than the fact that he's probably too good. By which I mean he happens to be very popular, and will usually get picked almost instantly by other players when playing online. He's one of the best operators, and I think everyone knows it. At number 3 we have Rook, another fantastic choice for new players due to the simplicity of his special armor bag, which, if used by any operator, provides them with extra armor. But how much armor are we actually talking about here? Well, from what I've heard, it gives any operator with medium or light armor the equivalent of having heavy armor, while further improving the armor rating of anyone who already has heavy armor, and this does include Rook himself. If this is to be believed, if this is true, then this would make this wonderful item the most essential gadget in the game, since it would always significantly increase the survivability of the entire squad, and in turn increase the chance of winning a round. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Turkey, you handsome devil, why isn't this tank of a man at number 1? Surely he deserves to be there if his unique gadget is as powerful as you say it is. Yes, the armor bag certainly is great, and if this was a list about the top 6 most useful operators in Rainbow Six Siege, then I'm sure this would be the case. However, I must be the one to point out something rather obvious. The armor bag, while useful, doesn't exactly do much else. You put it down somewhere, you use it, and then you proceed to shout at your teammates until they eventually do the same. That's it. Where you place it certainly doesn't make a difference, and you can't really apply any form of tactics to it, unlike the gadgets available to other operators. It's a very simple gadget to use. Too simple. It's so simple, in fact, that even someone like me would struggle to screw it up. I feel like Rook is a great option for most players, don't get me wrong, but at the same time he comes across as a defender who will quickly become quite stale the longer you play him. This is basically the reason why I couldn't justify having him at the top of the list. He may not be the most exciting operator, but he still manages to be one of the most valuable assets to any team. At number 2 we have Bandit. Now, during our first few weeks of playing Siege, we originally skipped over operators such as Bandit to focus on the more popular options, like things we'd played in the beta, things we knew were good. This was because from a distance, he didn't seem too impressive. He only had light armor, his guns looked a bit underwhelming, and whether his unique gadget would be useful in any game type was anyone's guess. Eventually I had no choice but to unlock him, and it was after the first game or two that I realised I'd been missing out on something quite special. Bandit is a German defender who gets shockwire as his unique ability. The item in question basically looks like a car battery, which you can attach to any metallic surface or object to electrify it. When electrified, the metallic object will damage any enemy that gets too close. With this in mind, you can use this to screw over the enemy team in a number of ways. On terrorist hunt, for example, placing shockwire on a reinforced wall will damage any terrorist that tries to breach through. From our experience, this actually does seem to deter the AI from breaching through certain walls due to how they're programmed to avoid taking unnecessary damage when possible. Except on the rare occasion, of course, that they do want to die a slow, painful death. With the way the AI works, you could even electrify barbed wire and place it in an area you know they'll be walking through, just for that extra bit of damage. On multiplayer, some of these tactics do still apply for the most part, but you might have to get a little more creative at times, considering players obviously aren't as predictable as the terrorists. When you really think about it, there's a good number of ways you can apply the shockwire to any given situation, which is probably why I enjoy using it so much. As an added bonus, the M870 pump-action shotgun available to Bandit has also become one of my favourite guns in the game. Seriously, forget the MP7, this is the only gun I'll ever need. When you consider everything I've said about Bandit thus far, it's clear that I completely misjudged him as a viable operator. He truly is a diamond in the rough, but even I can admit that he's far from perfect. The shock wire, while surprisingly useful for defending an objective, can take some very careful planning, as well as a ridiculous amount of luck just to make it work. In fact, it has been noted that Mute, an SAS operator, can not only do Bandit's job better, but with less difficulty to boot. Bandit, with his light armour and large margin for error, certainly isn't the easiest operator to play as, and hard to recommend for newer players. Despite this, however, he's still easily one of my favourite operators due to his unusual and unorthodox playstyle. Regardless of map or team composition, his shockwire has the potential to halt the enemy's attack in more ways than one. You have the power. Now it's up to you to decide how you use it. Before I get to the number one operator on this list, I would like to give an honourable mention to Smoke. He may not have gotten onto my list, but I felt he deserved a mention, what with him being both an SAS operative and another one of Sean's favourite guys. Smoke's special gas grenades can be planted in an area and then set off to cause damage over time to anyone attacking from that direction. It goes without saying that this ability is great for defending, however, it's important to remember that those gas bombs are not just a threat to the enemy team, but to your hostage as well. Trust us, we know. Back during the beta for Rainbow Six Siege, there were only so many operators that were actually available to try. This was obviously due to the fact that they were still being developed, so originally the only SAS operators available to play was Sledge and Smoke. We tried them, we enjoyed them, and then the beta suddenly ended. It was around this time that we began to wonder, what would the other SAS characters be like? The mechanics surrounding both Sledge and Smoke were easy to understand and yet interesting enough that they were always worth going back to. The bar had been raised, and developers would have to somehow create 2 more SAS operators who would have to be to the same, if not a higher standard. Well, if you ask me, they succeeded, because the official release of Rainbow Six Siege gave us Thatcher. Thatcher is, as you can probably guess, an SAS operative who plays the role of an attacker. His unique gadget is the EMP grenade, which is capable of disabling any type of electronics they come into contact with. You would be surprised at how often I get killed by a C4 in this game, so having an operator who was designed to deal with them certainly made him a good matchup for someone like me. When it comes to terrorist hunt, the AI do have a nasty habit of placing C4 in seemingly random rooms or corridors to slow you down, and it's not just 1 or 2 blocks of it. Usually where there's 1 C4, there's almost guaranteed to be another 10 or so nearby. Thankfully, this is just one of many situations where EMP grenades can shine, since they are always the quickest way to clear such areas and allow your teammates to focus on the task at hand while you deal with them. More importantly, they can be used to prevent suicide bombers from activating their explosives. All it takes is 1 well-timed throw to stop the most hated enemy in the game. This is the kind of technology that will save your teammates from what you'd call an explosive end. And that's only terrorist hunt. I haven't even begun to scratch the surface on how useful these grenades can be. In multiplayer, they can apparently be used to disable the unique gadgets of other operators. Yes, you heard me correctly. Thatcher can counter other operators. Most tactics used by the defenders will likely revolve around some kind of electronic device, meaning Thatcher is easily the biggest threat to pretty much everyone, and I think that's kind of hilarious in itself. Thatcher is not only simple to understand, but he's also remarkably effective in just about any situation with the use of his grenades. He's interesting to play, gets access to reliable loadout options, and is seemingly the only attacker who can truly shut down the other operators, whether it be temporary or not. He is the bane of defenders and drones alike, and it is because of this that I think he deserves to be top of this list. And that is it for my top 6 operators on Rainbow Six Siege. Hopefully you agree with my choices, but if not, feel free to tell me in the comments what you think. Stay tuned for more videos from me here at Lagmasters, and until next time, stay safe.